Hello，你好，欢迎回来，Welcome back to Wisdom Wednesday with Johnny Tiger on June 30, 2021. This is one day before Canada Day, so I'm going to take this chance to wish everybody here in Canada, fellow Canadians, happy Canada Day. Please stay safe, stay hydrated. I know the heat wave has starting to move east from British Columbia. So definitely all the well wishes to our Alberta friends and all the rest of Canada. we we just suffered through this heat wave for the last week, and it was no fun. And so please do remain vigilant. Watch out for fire hazards, and yeah, drink lots of water, and try to find somewhere cool to stay. If you don't have air condition at home, um, just a quick note for people who might not have thought about this. On really hot days like these, there are places that you can go that relatively cheap, hardly cost anything, and you can cool down relatively easily. Public library is one of those places. Hotels, motels, lobbies, supermarket, superstores, and save on food, Safeways, McDonald's. A lot of those places uh, are very, very ideal. And if worse come to worse, just sitting in your car for a couple of hours, enjoying the AC, and then uh, go back home. And then when you get really, really hot, get back in the car and just you don't have to drive around. Just sit there in your driveway and have the AC on. It's fine. It's fine. Just watch you don't run out of battery in your car. You'll be fine. Right? And make sure that if you do have the AC on, open your window, open the door occasionally so there's no carbon monoxide poisoning going on. That is my PSA of the day. Today we're going to talk about horses. Yeah, horses. I love horses. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've always been very, very good with most kinds of animals: cats, dogs, birds, uh, horses. Yeah, most animals, even the very obnoxiously ferocious ones, like a certain cat I can name, uh, generally I can end up getting along very well with them. And when I was a teenager, for some of the martial arts I had to do around fencing, sword fighting, uh, cavalier training, and stuff like that, I've had quite a bit of experience on horseback and taking care of horses. So yeah, always love horses. Always get along really well with horses. However, now it's getting very expensive to go horseback riding, and it's just not a luxury that I can casually uh, enjoy like before. So it's been a handful of years since I been on horseback. Really miss those times. Um, Chinese people have had a long love-hate relationship, long history of love-hate relationship with horses. In some ways, horses was the the one reason where Chinese people was so inferior in battle. Uh, but on the other hand, Chinese people have always viewed horses as a sign of good luck, a sign of success, a sign of achievement, accomplishment. Back in the early 90s, in the 80s and 90s and even 70s, almost every Chinese household would have a statue or a figurine of a horse in the living room or somewhere in the house because it was believed that horses are good luck charms. They're lucky. They're so graceful, so powerful. So having them in the house is a good way to bring in some nice feng shui. We really need to do an episode on feng shui some days. But that is going to be one long episode. It might have to be one of those things that we have to break up into multiple episodes. But yeah, definitely would be interesting. Horses in Mandarin is called ma, ma, ma. So some people, if you know a little bit of Mandarin, you say, like, wait, isn't that ma isn't that mother? Isn't mother? Well, not quite. Yeah, when we say mother, we say ma ma. You say it twice, ma ma, or you say it just ma. So it's a higher tone. It's the same word, same pronunciations, but it's totally different tone. Say ma is mom. Say ma is horse. So yeah, this is why when you're studying Mandarin, you have to really watch what tone you use for your words. Otherwise, the meaning is going to be drastically uh, different. You say 我的妈妈，我的妈 my mom, 我的马 means my horse. That's very different. Now we know that, now we know that ma means horse. But in Chinese mythology and folklore, for thousands and thousands of years, we are told that there is a different kind of horse called te, te, like T-E-R. Just go easy on the R sound. So it's not ter, but te. Uh, what is a te? Well, I was kept in the dark for the longest time. I always thought a te was a mythological horse. In Chinese mythology, it said a good horse might be able to run 1,000 miles without taking a break. But a te can run 10,000 miles without taking a break. A te is faster and stronger and has more energy than even the best horses out there. A te looks like has a build of a horse and the face of a donkey and the tail like an ox. Well, yeah, that sounds like something that's mythological, right? Like for the longest time, I had no idea what the heck is a term. Uh, is it just something people made up? Well, recently I've learned that finally what a term is referring to, and it's a real animal, but it's a very, very rare kind of real animal. Now we know that there's donkey and there are horses, and when you mate a donkey with a horse, you end up with a mule. Well, a mule is I believe, is a mother horse and a father donkey. Uh, but if it's a mother donkey and father horse, it's called a hini, I believe. If you know this kind of stuff, you can correct me. So in Chinese, in Mandarin, horse is called ma, a donkey is called lü, Lue, lü. When you mate a horse and a donkey, you get a mule or a hini. Mule and hini are both called the same thing in Mandarin. It's called luo, luo, Lo. Now, it is commonly believed that a mule or a hini cannot reproduce because of the weird makeup in their chromosome that they are supposedly unable to make proper sperm cells and egg cells in their body. So that makes them unable to reproduce. However, this is one of those instances. That's an old Chinese proverb that said, "The heaven will never make it totally, the heaven will never make it completely impossible for you to continue. Heaven will never make it completely impossible for you to continue." And in this case, it seems like Chinese people knew what they were talking about. Because contrary to what scientific uh, people, scientists, biologists have believed for hundreds of years, now it has been proven that there are many incidences where mules and hini, aka luo, have had babies. One such uh, incidences of a mule having a foal was documented in Morocco, another one in China, and another one right here in North America in the United States in Colorado. And there are many, many more that have not been properly documented, but it's definitely not a one-time thing. So it looks like that this biologically created failure when you made a donkey and a horse that supposedly make mules and heelys unable to reproduce sometimes fixes itself and allow miracle to happen. Now, when the miracle happens, when a mule has a baby, the offspring become a te in Chinese folklore. That is what they refer to when they talk about a te, because the offspring of a mule is extremely quick, extremely powerful. It's a very strong, very enduring animal. So in throughout Chinese history, if anyone was ever gifted one of these rare animals, then that was like a highest degree of honor. Usually the best, only the best warriors or the emperor themselves could be given a te, because it's so rare. You can't breed them. You have to wait for a miracle to happen for one of these the freak of nature to happen when a mule suddenly have the right DNA makeup to be able to have a baby. That's the only way for you to get a te. So it's extremely rare that for thousands of years people believe that a te was a mythological creature, that it didn't exist. But now we have been shown that a te in fact existed, and it was a real animal. We know what it is, and it still is around. It's still in this world. So next time when someone tell you that they heard of a mule or a hini having foals, having babies, don't jump off your seat and tell them scientifically that's not possible. Uh, I will say this, even though I've only been on this earth for less than 40 years, I truly believe that anything, anything is possible in this world. Nothing is truly, completely impossible. Back to horses. Now that we know what this best kind of super horse is, the te in Chinese history. Now we're going to go back and talk about the horses. Those of you that ride horses know that for horses to be able to perform properly, they have to have horseshoes nailed to their hoofs. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but I used to think, wow, that seems so painful. That seems so cruel to nail something we make onto the bottom of their feet. That just seemed extremely uncomfortable and cruel. But I was corrected, uh, and I've since learned that people who put on the horseshoes, they know their stuff. They know it's just like when you go get a pedicure and manicure, right? If they uh, dig into your flesh and if they touch your nerve, then yeah, it's going to hurt like crazy. But if they just work on your nail, then it actually feels good. It doesn't hurt. Well, the horse's hooves are exactly the same way. They're part of it that have nerve endings, and that part of it that is just uh, dead skin, basically. And those are the parts that they actually nail the horseshoe onto. So people who put horseshoes on horses, they don't uh, nail it onto the sensitive part of the hooves. And when you really think about it, and this was pointed out to me, uh, just look at how big and strong a horse is. You don't want to do anything that's going to make the horse feel painful or uncomfortable. Otherwise, you are there trying to put the horseshoe on the horse, and then the horse kick you to death. Now, it's just not a really good kind of result. So it's a definite uh, uh, skill of the trade that to those of us watching from the side, we're thinking, wow, it doesn't that hurt to nail the horseshoe onto the bottom of their feet? But no, apparently it doesn't hurt them, and those horseshoes are there to protect them so they don't wear out their feet when they are walking on the ground on the road. The technology of horseshoes, of putting horseshoes on horses, was started by the Roman people about 100 years BC. And this was one of the things that allowed the Roman military to dominate almost everywhere they went because their horses were protected. They had protected feet. Their horses could run faster, run longer than other horses without suffering uh, uh, ill effect, without wearing out their hooves. Unfortunately, this technology, this idea of putting horseshoes on horses, went uh, eventually went to Asia, and then it got to about Mongolia and then stopped. For some reason, it never entered China until about year 1000 AD. So for about 1,000 years since the invention of horseshoes, everyone else knew about it except the Chinese. The Chinese people were still riding on shod horses, horses that were bare feet. And that put Chinese people in a great amount of disadvantage. Historical records show that back in the Han Dynasty, there were two very famous Chinese generals that decided they were going to once for and for all drive the northern savages, northern barbarians, out of Chinese uh, 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 boundary and push them all the way back into the sea if need be. So these two Chinese generals assembled a massive uh, cavalry unit. This cavalry unit uh, consisted of 140 horses, 140,000 horses. Now just give yourself 1 second to imagine that. 140,000 horses coming at you on the battlefield. Like what would that even look like or sound like? I don't know. I imagine it was a scary thing to encounter. So these two Chinese generals from the Han Dynasty assembled this massive cavalry unit to went up against the northern barbarian. In the end, they were unable to defeat the northern barbarian because out of the 140,000 horses, 120,000 of them ended up dying on the battlefield because of infections or exhaustion, and most of them were due to their hooves were wearing out their hooves were getting injured and stuff like that because the Chinese cavalry did not know about how to put horseshoes on their horses, while the northern barbarian knew about it. So you can imagine if back then, if Chinese people knew about the technology of horseshoes, it's quite possible that Mongolian people, Genghis Khan, would never have existed. It's quite possible that the northern barbarian would have gone extinct just from that one battle alone due to the sheer amount of uh, horses and troops that were coming their way. They got lucky because most of these horses end up dying due to poor care and problem with their feet. Otherwise, history would have been very different. No Genghis Khan, no Yuan dynasty. Yeah, it would be quite different. Maybe they wouldn't even have needed the Great Wall in the end. And speaking of horses, do you know what the most famous horses in China? Uh, the most famous horses in Chinese history are called the six steeds of Zhao Mausoleum. The six steeds of Zhao Mausoleum. These are six statues of horses ridden by the first emperor of the Tang dynasty, Tang Taizong himself. Tang Taizong was not like a lot of other emperors who just sit in their palaces and give command and eat and drink and have fun with their concubines and their queen. Tang Taizong, the first emperor of Tang dynasty, was a warrior emperor. He uh, every step of the way during his effort to reunite the entire China under one banner. He was there with his troop. He was in the front, leading his troop on horseback, swinging a sword, swinging a spear, shooting arrows. Teng Taizong was a warrior emperor, just like the much later Genghis Khan. Teng Taizong rode six horses in his entire lifetime out to battle. All six horses ended up dying in action on the battlefield. Later, during in year 676 AD, Tang Taizong commissioned to have the likeness of these six horses made into statues to commemorate them, and they were called the Six Steeds of Zhao Mausoleum because Zhao Mausoleum was the final resting place of the Emperor Tang Taizong, and he had these six horse statues there guarding his resting place. Two of these steeds are now being displayed, of all places, in the Penn Museum in Pennsylvania, United States, in the University of Pennsylvania. Um, because the university bought them from smugglers that smuggled them out of China back in 1914. So there's only four of them that's remained in China. Two of them have been sold by smugglers to the United States. Now this actually does make me very, very angry. I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but this is one of those international politic situations that make me very angry because these horses, the six steeds of Zhao Mausoleum, they should be together. They should go together. They are a historical treasure of the Chinese people left over all the way down from Tang Dynasty. They are part of our national pride, and yet smugglers stole two of them, and then the United States ended up buying them and kept them. Like that just to me doesn't sit very well. I'm pretty sure if someone was to steal a piece off of the Statue of Liberty and then sell it to China, the U.S. would be demanding it back day and night, and uh, with all kind of uh, uh, different conditions and demands, uh, and wanting it back. So I think for the U.S. to keep those two stolen treasures that got smuggled out of China, it is somewhat of a, well, shall we say, a little bit of a poor taste, kind of a less than classy way to do things. But like I said, this is one of those international politics things that a lot of us don't really understand. So I'm not going to dwell too much on it. But suffice to say, now we know that the legendary Te does exist. It is the offspring of a mule. And now we also know about the famous six steeds of Zhao Mausoleum, the six magnificent war horses that died during battle while being ridden by the first emperor of the Tang dynasty. I hope this has been, if not totally enlightening, at least somewhat interesting. If you enjoy these Wisdom Wednesdays, then please do subscribe to the Johnny Tiger Experience podcast, where you will find more stories and legends and fables from Chinese history and other martial art, fitness, a lot of other tips and tricks and goodies. Thank you, and again, happy Canada Day for those of you that are in Canada. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and 再见.